our special guest, old Stanfordian Busi Ravele, members of the Board of Trustees, parents, students, and most importantly, the matrics of 2017. A very warm welcome to all of you on this auspicious occasion of our 19th valedictory service. Today is a celebration, and so to set the tone and to lighten the mood, I thought we'd play a few songs. Hopefully these will get you thinking, prompt some reflection from those of you who have young folk who are matriculating today.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, everybody in the car, so come on, let's ride to the liquor store around the corner. The boy said he wants some gin and juice, but I really don't wanna. It was last week, I must stay here. To the rules that I have to do. That I wish you saw, 'cause I haven't meant to know it all. Close your eyes and I'll kiss you good with the birds of the shade. With the birds that you share, it's only superstitions, black cats and blue dogs. I feel a premonition, that curtain in the fall.
So, I'm not sure whether we realize the extent of the momentous occasion that we are attending today. The matric group sat in front of you will be the last matric year group to have predominantly been born in the 20th century. Those songs that you heard, and I try to kind of give a good selection for the parent body here. Those songs were #1 hits in 1999. Possibly some of the parents sat in the barnyard now will remember them fondly. 1999 was not only a memorable year for your parents, but it was also an extremely important year in history. Stanford turned 1 year old. Nelson Mandela's term as the President of South Africa came to an end, and the second democratic elections in South Africa saw Thabo Mbeki become the new president. Queen Elizabeth and the Duke of Edinburgh visited South Africa. And a piece of adventure history was made when Cathy O'Dowd became the first woman to summit Mount Everest from both the north and the south routes. And of course, 1999 was quite important for you guys. And here we are, 18 years later. 2017 has been a year which will be remembered in history as a watershed in many ways. In a year where growing polarization and resulting frustrations from the marginalized elements of society have been reflected in the political and social instability of the world, it has become ever increasingly important for schools such as ours to hold dearly onto our value systems. Young folk such as yourselves are constantly being bombarded with examples of poor moral and ethical behavior from those who we would hope to hold up as our leaders. This constant barrage often makes it difficult for you to discern what is right and what is wrong. We therefore live in a world where one would argue the importance of character education has now surpassed the significance of an acquisition of knowledge model as an educational priority. Within this ever-changing world we live in, it is imperative not only for us to maintain our value systems, but also that we prepare ourselves for this ever-changing world and that we arm ourselves with the skills that will see us succeed in the future. I would put forward the proposition that the character skills and traits that we espouse at our school will become more and more important and more sought after as time goes on, and that you should truly embrace these once that you have left school. Because I firmly believe that if you do so, it will place you at a distinct advantage in the years to come. We have all heard the statement that we as schools are now preparing our students for jobs that have not yet been invented. However, I find that quite difficult to quantify. So to try and give it some context, let's have a look at a few interesting facts. It was 12 years ago that the class of 2017 started their grade 1 year, so I thought that this time frame would be nicely relevant. 12 years ago, none of these companies existed. And yet, each one of them today is valued at over $1 billion each. In 8 years, Uber has become the largest cab company in the world, and yet they don't even own a single cab. Uber now operates in 633 cities worldwide. In 11 years, Airbnb has become the largest hotel chain in the world. Again, they don't own a single hotel. 4 years ago, Tesla didn't even produce a motor vehicle that was available for public purchase. And yet now they are the highest valued car company in the world. Facebook was only invented 11 years ago. And then, of course, it wasn't for public use either. It was only used as an intranet for a group of university students. The iPhone didn't yet exist. So these examples and many others serve to remind us that in the past 12 years, our world has experienced a rapid change, one that we as a species have never witnessed before. And yet, what is even more frightening is that this rate of change is increasing exponentially. So what will the next 12 years look like? To support this notion of flux and ever-changing landscapes, it's interesting to note there's also been a notable shift in the skills that the companies now require for you to be successful, to be employed by them. The companies depicted on this slide no longer require you to have a university degree to apply for a job to them. Schools and universities will have to reinvent themselves as educational institutions or run the risk of becoming obsolete. The advent of MOOCs and webinars, to name a few new learning technologies, has made cheap, very good education accessible to everyone. I believe that history will remember this time as a period of transition. And it is now an opportunity and a time for you, the matrix, to do something extraordinary. I believe to be extraordinary, you will need to be agile. So what does this agility look like, and what will the future employers be looking for? In the United States, the educational and political leaders have identified the following 21st century skills which they believe each young person should be developing as a lifelong learner. They are the 4 C's: creativity, critical thinking, collaboration, and communication. So what I'd like to do today is to offer you the matrix of 2017, my 4 simple thoughts that link very closely into this. And hopefully these will help you succeed in the topsy-turvy world that you are about to enter. Oprah Winfrey once said, "If you find your passion, it will lead you to your purpose." More importantly, however, by finding and living your passion and being led towards your purpose, you will also have a much better chance of being happy. Gary Keller, in his best-selling book, The One Thing, urges you to identify that one thing that you are passionate about, and then to live every day in such a way that you move towards achieving that. He uses the analogy of dominoes, where one small act today towards our goal can set in motion a chain of events that can lead to great things. So number 1, matrix. Find your passion. Find your one thing and remain true to it and work at it each and every day. Archbishop Desmond Tutu and the Dalai Lama, in their book, The Book of Joy, offer some simple advice about how to achieve that true happiness. They suggest that happiness comes from serving others, and in particular those that you love. Be proactive each and every day in your life to do something caring for those around you. Tell your family and your friends how much you love and value them. And then, more importantly, act in such a way that your actions support your words. This advice is reflected in our Stanford value of Ubuntu, the definition of which is, "I am because we are." Mahatma Gandhi's famous quote, "Lose yourself in the service of others," fits neatly with this principle. So my second piece of advice to you, Matrix, is be a good friend and have good friends. Live the value of Ubuntu, value the friendships that you have, and cultivate them as you would a beautiful plant. My third piece of advice is about putting the values that you have learnt at Stanford into action as often as you can. It is easy to say the right things at the right time and to quote your values, but the true measure of an individual is whether you are able to live those values in trying times. When put under peer pressure to act in a way that you know is wrong, are you able to say no and to act with courage? Are you able to delay the immediate gratification you might get from doing something wrong and rather opt for the intrinsic reward of acting from a strong values base because you know deep down inside that it is the right thing to do? Our values can not only be posters or words up on the hall, which we quote when only convenient. We need to step up and be responsible for our actions, even when no one else is looking or no one is there to chastise us. Once you leave school, it will be your moral barometer that will set you apart. You'll be faced with challenges, but it will be your ability to stand fast to your values and the values of our school and the morals which will allow you to rise above the others. So number 3, take personal responsibility for your actions. And finally, and most importantly, this bit of advice that I offer you when you embark on your next leg of your journey that is life. And that is for you to truly believe in the quote by the founder of Round Square, Kurt Hahn. There is more to us than we know. If we can be made to see it, perhaps for the rest of our lives, we will be unwilling to settle for anything less. Hahn believed in the experiential model of education that we subscribe to as a college. In your dream and do lessons in grade 8 and grade 9, you're exposed to this philosophy, and you have all become living proof of the truth in this quote. When times are tough, and there will be tough times, I can promise you that, always remember this and use your experience at Stanford to dig deep down in your belief in yourself. So my final piece of advice is to live our college value of courage, knowing that you can always stretch yourself beyond the ordinary. So, Matrics of 2017, in conclusion, find your passion, be a good friend, take personal responsibility in all that you do, and always stretch yourself beyond your ordinary. And never, ever, ever forget that you are, and always will be,